Hello, my name is Transnaksha Abhivikrama. Now I am going to explain my final year game project. That game name is a hard flip card game. That is a memory card game with the 50 levels. So when I come to the game, first need to register. There is a registration section. You first need to enter the registration to username and also Gmail. When you enter the Gmail and click the send code, you receive the code into your Gmail. After entering it to your input area, you can sign into website. Now I already have account, so I will log into that account. uh, when I come to the my game dashboard, there is a uh, levels, and also there is a setting icon. This setting icon helps to change the details of the usernames and Gmail and password. And also if you want to log out, you can log out. When new user log into the level, we can see the levels only first level. Now I already played some levels, so I'm in the level 4. So when I'm come to level 4, there is a play button. When click the play button, I can see the two heart pairs and three carrot pairs, and also two bombs. Both two heart pairs and carrot pairs are randomly generated, but two bombs are that get from the as using conditions. If level is below than 5, likewise I use to some conditions. When we go to the more levels, the time is reduced. Then now this level we have the 80 seconds, but we go to 50 level, it has a low time. So when we go to start game, I can see the free space, and also click the shuffle start. Then I can see the all shuffles, and if I click the correct one, those will be the unclickable. If I click the wrong one, uh, if I click the wrong one, there is three chances, those chances are reduced. If I click the bomb, that game is over. If I my chances is 0, and also that game is over. This is a game process. Now I'm going to talk shows the my GitHub repo. I create the 10 branches for the features, and also when I develop in the game, I have some issues. So fix these issues, I create the fixed branches. There is my branches, and also there is my commit history. This is my UI and GitHub details. So now I am going to move a very important process. That process is where when I doing developing the website, I focus the four important section. First one is the structure of the code. Second one is implement of events and event handler. Third one is integrate of API. Fourth one is authentications. So when I go to the structure of the code base structure is very clear and easy to understand. I create the backend using the Node.js and Express.js, and also I create the front end using the HTML, CSS, and JS. And also I use the external services. Each level has a specific responsibility. The entry point is server.js. Server.js is the entry point, and also which is set up, expresses middleware and routes authentication logic live in routes. Authentication lives in routes auth.js file. uh, handling registration, login, OTP, password reset, save progresses. The user data is defined in model user.js as a MongoDB schema for user and game progresses, because the app is deployed on the Vercel as a serverless function. I added the library mongodb.js file for the cache the database connection, so we don't open a new one every request. On the front end, each pages has in own module. As an example, login.js, login.js, likewise dashboard.js, game.js, likewise every pages has own module. And also I kept all css into the css folder. uh, I could have used a framework like React, but Vanilla JS will keep dependencies minimal and avoid the build step. I also could have put everything in on one file, but splitting the features make it easier to maintain and test. Second one is implemented of the events and event handler. So now I'm going to show the event handler in the login.js. Those are event listeners. I use add event listeners to attach handler to form submits, click input changes and keyboard keys. Handlers validate input calls API and update the DOM. In login.js, the form submit event called login e. The form submit event, there is form submit. Yeah, there is a login e. The form submit event called login e, which posts the API/login and save the player data local storage. The username field has a blur listener that runs user validate username for real-time validation. Those section is there is a user validation username validation section. In game.js, each card has a click listener that call on card click to the flip the card and check for a match or bomb. I already mentioned that process in the UI when I describe in the UI. I also added the key down handler on the card to support enter and space the accessibility. The shuffle button triggers run shuffle actual position. This is that function to start the play pace with the animation. In registration.js, I use registration the send code. This is a send code section. Send code button fires send code function which force to /API send OTP. The password field is as input listener that runs update checklist function to give the live feedbacks on the password rule. I choose add event listener over inline on click because it separates behavior from HTML and is easier to test. Each handler call a named function, so the flow is clear and debuggable. So I will read this and explain this fastly because the time is limited. I mean, it should be the at least the it should be the lower than 10 minutes. So third one is third important component is third party software integration. Now I am going to show the main API I use in the api.js file. I use the main API is the mercant.com UOB heart API.php for puzzle, external heart API for the puzzle that return from the external API. And also I go move to the auth.js. That section I use the Bcrypt for the password hashing, and also node mailer for the OTP received. Those are I used libraries in authentication section. And also now I move to mongodb.js file. I use the mongoose for the I use mongoose for the all mongoose is used for the user model and all MongoDB operations, and the connection is managed in library mongo.js. Expresses runs the server and routes in server.js and routes auth.js. The app is deployed on the Vercel, which run it as a serverless function. Now I am going to explain about the authentication mechanism. Authentication establishes virtually identify the user is who they claim to be, uh, who became to be who became to be who be who can who access to be game process. Who they claim to be and secure access to game progress. I use password hashing, OTP verification for registration and password reset, and the progress token for saving game status. Primary login is username or Gmail plus password. The client posts the slash API login, and the server compares the password with the bytecrypt against the stored hash. Passwords are hashed with the bytecrypt as a cost 10 on registration and are never stored in a plain text for registration and sensitive action like resetting the password or changing email. I use a 6-digit OTP. The server generated the code once verified. They can complete the action after successfully logging. The server generates a random 32 bytes hex progress token with a 30-day expiry. The client store it and send it with the progress request to the user doesn't need to log into the again for each serve. I also restrict the account to go to the Gmail addresses with the username user schema validate. Virtual identity is the username and email stored in the MongoDB. Link to the hash link to the hash password and progressor. Security comes from bytecrypt hashing, OTP for the sensitive actions, and the progressor token with the expiry. I could use the JWT for session like auth instead of the progress token, but the token approach is the simpler for this scope. This is my UI repo and also code demonstrator. So I think I cover all the details. So thank you giving your valuable time for the watching my video, and uh, I hope you can get the full idea of about the my game. So thank you for everything.